masters and our many guests who are here tonight. Do you remember the last time you did some origami? If you folded a paper airplane, a fortune teller, a chewing gum wrapper chain, or even a crane, you participated in origami. Origami is ori is folded, gami is paper. So anytime you've done anything where you folded paper, you've participated in origami. Now, it's most likely that what you did fold was not nearly as involved as this. However, the folds that you may have used to fold whatever it was you were doing are the same folds that went into this. There's just a lot more of them here and in different sequences. To use music as a metaphor, in music, if you want to advance very far, you've got to learn pitches, you've got to learn notes, you've got to learn scales, chords, things like that, the technical parts of music. The same with origami. There is a technical language that has been developed to help people fold models, to be able to create a model and then be able to document it so you can communicate it, somebody else can fold it. So tonight you're going to learn a little bit about this, starting with the different kinds of folds there are. And second, the bases, talking about the bases. And then thirdly, diagramming symbols. Once you know that, then you'll be on your way to learning how to fold origami. So we're going to start with the folds. The most basic fold is when you have a piece of paper, you fold it towards you. That's a valley fold. See where it might get its name, to be the valley. It's a valley fold. If you have a piece of paper and you fold it away from you, that's called a mountain fold, as if it was a little peak. Those two folds make up origami, essentially. That's the building block right there. Now there are more involved folds that end up being combinations of valley and mountain folds, but they're considered basic folds. One is a crease fold. So you have a point out here that you want to fold in. You can either do an outside reverse fold in which you fold it over like that. That is two valley folds and a mountain fold. Now you might want to take that point and fold it in. That's an inside reverse fold. You're folding it in between the layers of the paper. And that's actually two valleys and a mountain. The other was two mountains and a valley. Okay. Another fold is a pleat fold. A pleat fold involves a mountain fold and a valley fold fused together. Everybody knows what a pleat is. You can have a parallel pleat, or you can have an angled pleat where the two creases are not parallel to each other. Okay? And then we start to get into a little more elaborate folds. Let's say you have a model with a flap, and you want to do something with that flap. One thing you can do is called a squash fold, where you take this top edge here and you push it down symmetrically to create a squash. So that's called a squash. And for a little bit of trivia, this shape, this kite shape, is a very common shape that ends up resulting from creases in many origami models. That's a squash fold. You take a flap and you flatten it. And then you can get into, this is a rabbity. This is called a rabbitier, where you want to reduce this point. So here we have a baseline for this fold. You have a diagonal fold, you fold it down. You take the other diagonal edge, fold it down, and then you fold them together. You get a little flap called a rabbitier. And that could be laid down, or that could be squash. But all of this is valley folds and mountain folds. They're just different combinations. And as I said, just about any model every model is a combination of valley folds and mountain folds. It's just what that combination is, what the orientation is. Now, continue with our music metaphor. Music has some basic forms or structures that are used over and over again. For instance, the blues form was originally developed for blues, but it's also used a lot in rock and roll songs and pop songs, the basic three-chord structure. In origami, they're called bases. These are a pattern of folds that are done in order to create a common shape. And then from that shape, many models are folded from that. And I'll show you some of these, and their names derive from traditional models that were first folded back in the mid-1900s or mid-1800s and even earlier. The most basic form is called a preliminary base. Now, this is a square that has mountain folds on the orthogonals and valley folds on the diagonals. So those are put in, and then it's collapsed into a preliminary base. So now there are 4 flaps from which a model can be derived. An example of that is this simple little rocking horse. This is from a preliminary base. Okay? Now, the thing about a preliminary base is if you were to, I said the orthogonals are mountain folds, the diagonals are valley folds. If you were to reverse that, so that the diagonals are mountain folds, you get a triangle which is called a water bomb base. And it's called that because the water bomb model comes from that, with the idea that you could fill this up with water and toss it out a window at some point. There's your water bomb. Another simple base is called the kite base. For the obvious reason, it looks like a kite. This is just the 2 adjacent diagonal, or 2 sides folded into a diagonal. You can also fold the top down and it can become an ice cream cone. But this is a very simple base, and you end up folding a simple model like this swan. It comes from the kite base. Now it gets a little bit more involved. If you were to take the preliminary base and add more folds to it, you get what's called the bird base. You can see it's got these flaps here which suggest wings. You get the 2 flaps going up, 2 flaps coming down. And if you've ever folded a crane, you'll recognize that as the bird base. It's from that the traditional crane is folded. And then lastly, we have the frog base, which now starts to get much more involved in that if you start from a preliminary base, squash fold each of those flaps, and then do what's called a petal fold to create this little petal. Do that 4 times, you end up with a frog base. And the traditional frog model comes from the frog base. So now there's many more bases as origami has grown up into the modern era. The more sophisticated bases have been developed, but those are the basic ones. So now that you've designed a model, you want to communicate it with others. That's usually done through diagrams. Again, using music as the metaphor. Music, you have the notes and the scores and special notation. There is a special graphic language to communicate origami folds. In those diagrams, there's 3 types of lines. A dashed line indicates a valley fold. A dashed dot line indicates a mountain fold. And if you just see a plain line, it means that's a crease that was already, it's a fold that was already folded, and you're moving on beyond that. So it's a crease that's in the paper. Now beyond that, there are directions using arrows. So in this case, here's a valley fold, the arrow says fold it down. It's just a way of reinforcing the line. Same way, here we have a mountain fold, the arrow saying fold it back. Sometimes you may want to fold it and then unfold it. Fold it, open it, you're going to do something else. So it can either be a double-headed arrow that's saying fold and fold back, or if you want to fold it from a specific side, the arrow will start, move over and come back. It means fold and unfold. And then our pleat fold, the arrow will indicate the direction of the pleat. Other directions, you may have done a fold and now you have to turn the paper over to fold it. So the little loop-de-loop says turn it over. Or you may have the paper and it needs to be rotated. So you'll have two arrows chasing each other to indicate rotate the paper. You stay on the same side, rotate it. There are folds called sink folds in which just a portion of the paper is inverted, sort of an inside reverse fold, but a little more complicated. A little dark arrow indicates push that in. And then you may have, so you have a preliminary base which has a front layer and a back layer. And so you're going to fold the front layer, and then the arrow with a little hash tag across it, a little hash mark across it, means do the same thing on the back side. If you put it all together, it looks like this. We have dashed lines and arrows to create a kite base. They want the tip fold backwards. They want these points folded down, both points out. See how it's directing what to do with the paper and the lower. So if you see models like these, they may appear unapproachable. How the heck did that get? How did he do that? Well, once you start to understand the language of origami and some of the technical aspects of it, some of that mystery starts to dissipate. It may still be difficult to do, but at least you can start to understand how that's done. So if you're feeling adventurous after this and you want to try some more origami, go online, do a search of Google, and you'll get 4.63 million hits for origami. Even better, do a search on YouTube, and you'll get 2.1. Actually, that decimal point's in the wrong place. It's supposed to be 46.3 million. 2.1 million videos of people demonstrating how to fold a model. You just follow along with it. And if you need square paper, there's an art supply store up in the Junction, and they sell packaged square paper. So there you have it. All you need to know to get started in origami. If you get started and you get stuck, let me know. I'll be glad to help you out. And if you do explore this, you will soon learn that the interest in origami is increasing.